Let's check in with Turning Point's White House correspondent Monica Paige. Monica, so the president yesterday or over the weekend, gave some remarks about the Navy, the best naval fleet in the world. I want to play some remarks for you and then get your reaction and I guess some further thoughts about how the administration is handling the military overall, which is, again, a big topic of conversation, especially in the last couple weeks here. Check this out, and I'd love to get your thoughts.
The U.S. Navy always stands for America. As your commander-in-chief, I will always stand for you. I promise you that. You know that. That's why you voted for me in numbers that nobody's ever seen before. And I want you to know that despite the current Democrat-induced shutdown, we will get our service members every last penny. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. It's all coming. It's coming. And even more because I'm supporting the across-the-board pay raises for every sailor and service member of the United States Armed Forces. But we have to take care of this little gnat that's on our shoulder called the Democrats. They want to give all of our money to illegal aliens that pour into the country. And, you know, I have a bigger heart than they do. But the problem is when you do that, they come in by the millions. Everybody wants that, so you can't do it.
Monica, broadly here, when Trump talks about, we're going to raise the paychecks for the military, the Navy specifically here, libs just have a total utter meltdown because that's the worst thing. Why are we spending money on the military when we could be giving them to illegals? Your thoughts, Monica?
Right. That's exactly the theme of the Democrats. I mean, that's exactly what they want. They want the money to illegal aliens. They want the money going to DEI programs. They don't want money to help make our military forces stronger. They don't want to support the military families. And from what I've seen personally at the White House, there hasn't been a president, at least in my time or in my experience covering the White House, that has been more pro-military than Donald Trump. I mean, it feels like every other week or maybe every month, the president is hosting some kind of reception or some kind of event with Gold Star families. Just shows it love and appreciation and remember the tough fight that these military members are serving every single day, especially in our waters, Jobob, because weak men create tough times. Over the last 4 years, we had a weak man in office. And that created a lot of tough times. I mean, you take a look at what's happening in our international waters, and we have the strongest Navy there to protect us. I mean, you're seeing, on a weekly basis, we almost see like another narco terrorist being taken out. And that's props to our, Secretary of War, and that's props to our military. That's props to our country finally being strong again. And that's exactly what the president was highlighting in his remarks over the weekend. And it just feels good. I mean, I'm not in the Navy. My parents weren't in the Navy, but I feel like I was in the Navy through that speech. I feel good. I feel amped up. And that's what we should be feeling. We got to instill this patriotism, this strength back on the world stage.
Monica, I just want to correct the record there. You said there was a weak man in office the last 4 years. I believe it was actually a pen that was in office, as evidenced by the
a very weak pen, excuse me.
Yeah, the ink was running low. The ball was a little bit dry on the end of it. So just wanted to make that clear for evidence for our viewers. So Monica, just want to talk a little bit forward, preview tomorrow. Tomorrow is October 7th, 2 years since the horrible massacre in Israel. There are some protests supposedly expected outside of the White House. What do you think the administration is looking towards in regards to handling, those protests, especially, of course, God forbid they get violent, which they so often do. Again, nobody wants that, but, such is the left side of the aisle right now. What do you think is going on outside of the White House tomorrow?
Sure. Well, we'll definitely expect some riot fencing to go up. I mean, the Secret Service, police, they're always good at making sure that the perimeter around the White House is always secure. So we'll definitely expect to see some of that. It would not surprise me to see protesters in Lafayette Park, which is literally right outside the White House.
Yeah.
And I will also say that I was doing some research into upcoming protests in DC because, this month is kind of a hot spot for protests, not just because of October 7th, but then you've also got Columbus Day, which is my favorite holiday, perhaps because I'm Italian, but they don't like to ever acknowledge that. They like to say it's Indigenous Peoples Day. So, as a matter of fact, on October 12th, the day before Indigenous Peoples Day, there will be a Torpedo Trump event in Lafayette Park outside the White House, is what I found. And when I was doing some research into this, I was like, are they trying to incite violence here? Because that sounds pretty violent to me. I mean, torpedoing the president of the United States, what? And essentially, they're like, oh, we need to sink his presidency. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
So we'll be keeping an eye on that too. I'm sure they're going to get a lot of turnout for that. You know, these are all things on the Blue Sky channels, on these Reddit forums. So you don't know where the hell these people are coming from or where they're even located. So it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be a very tense month. That's my prediction.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that. At the same time, I think when we've talked about this, I want to say that the protests around this time of year is just out of sheer laziness because the weather's nice. The weather's beautiful in Washington, D.C. on 6 weeks a year on the opposite ends of summer. And we're in that right now. So they're like, oh, let's go protest. The real diehards would protest in January. That's how I challenge all of the lib protesters to go protest in January. When we're doing the March for Life, because we actually care about the things that we're protesting about. But I think that's probably what it is. They've decided, oh, the weather's nice. I can actually go out and protest now, which proves to me they don't actually care about what they're doing. Monica Paige, Turning Point's White House correspondent, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Thank you.